Hello guys, we just learned how to communicate with the OpenAI API. For conversation between your app and any OpenAI GPT model completed successfully, we have to send out a prompt object, the so-called request body, to the model you want to connect to, and then receive a chat completion object back from it. Usually, a prompt is referred to as the text or questions we ask ChatGPT or any of OpenAI's GPT models. But it consists of more than just the text. You already know from the last video that things we send to the GPT model consist of at least two parameters, model and the messages. Whereas the model is a string, the messages is an object array. These two parameters are required. There are other optional parameters. Here is a two-page list of all parameters you can use in a request body. You can find each parameter's data type, description, default value, and required or not. I use my own words to describe the purpose of each parameter. For newcomer like you, the descriptions on OpenAI's API reference page are sometimes hard to understand. I'll explain the usages of the most frequently used four parameters in this video, because the best approach for you to learn their meanings is to use them in your app. Assuming you send a request body object like this to the OpenAI API, the first parameter is model, a string type parameter. The model name set here should be one of the models listed on OpenAI's documentation. There are lots of models for your choice. Some are the GPT-4 series, and the others are the GPT-3 series. In this course, we focus primarily on the cheapest model, GPT 3.5 Turbo of the GPT-3 series. The second parameter is messages. Messages is an array which contains 5 different message objects. Well, 4 message objects: the system, user, assistant, and the tool. The 5th object, function, is deprecated and is replaced by tool. You can consider these 4 message objects as 4 different roles. We have used 3 roles in this example. They are system, user, and assistant. Both system and user messages contain 3 fields: role, content, and the name. The role of the system message is system, and the role of the user message is user. Both name fields are optional. They differentiate your users if multiple users are using your app. In the app we created earlier, we didn't set a name field for any of them, and it works fine. However, I suggest you give both messages a name for better understanding. I'll show you why in the next video. If the role is set to system, high-level instruction is provided via its content field to the GPT model. For instance, you can nickname the GPT model like I did in our first app, but the system message is optional. You can send a request body without a system message. If you set the role to user, the content is the prompt you send to the GPT model. As mentioned earlier, you can embed system instructions in the user messages. If the role is set to assistant, well, an assistant message is the response returned from the GPT model. So usually, you don't have to provide messages in an assistant role. However, you want to append the latest conversations between your app and the GPT model for better responses. In that case, you append the responses received from the GPT model as assistant messages along with your user messages. This example doesn't include the role of tool. The tool message is used in conjunction with the tool's parameter, which can be used to work with third-party functions. Due to its complexity, I'll explain this topic later in this course. Okay, next, max tokens. Tokens are the pieces of words. The words are the message you input to the GPT model or the message you receive from the model. The pieces of words means, for example, this 6-character word OpenAI represents 2 tokens, Open and AI. Are there rules to break a word down into tokens? Does it break down according to syllabus? Well, it's based on the inference sequence of words. 1 token is approximately 4 characters in English or 3/4 of words. 100 tokens is approximately 75 words. But that's not always true. For instance, the word Microsoft with a lowercase m is also 2 tokens, but it is divided into M and Microsoft. However, if we replace it with Microsoft with a capital M, the whole word is 1 token, because it recognizes this word is a registered name of a well-known company. You can go to OpenAI's tokenizer webpage to play with it. Max tokens is the maximum number of tokens that could be generated in one chat completion. One chat completion means one send and receive transaction, but this number could not exceed the context length of the GPT model you are using. The GPT 3.5 Turbo model, for example, has a context length of 16,385 tokens. The max tokens parameter is optional, but I suggest you specify a number, especially when you ask the GPT model to generate a long content response, such as asking it to write a 1,000-word article. Because the bigger the number, the slower the response. Okay, the last important parameter I want to introduce is n. N is an integer indicating how many responses OpenAI API should return. The default value is 1, meaning there will be only 1 response returned. If you set it to greater than 1, say 2, the API returns 2 responses. As the example shows, I asked, "What is GPT?" And the API returns 2 similar answers to me. This function may be helpful when your question is looking for multiple ideas. Okay, let's look at what the GPT model returns to us in the next video.